Hi there, and welcome to Real Talk in ELT, a podcast about the reality of teaching English. I'm your host, Kelly Pennington. Thank you for joining me today. Good morning, afternoon, evening, wherever you are. Welcome back to another episode of Real Talk in ELT. I am here by myself today, but I have been motivated to make another ranty podcast. I feel like this is kind of my style now. It's just things are going to trigger me and I'm going to get irritated and then I'm going to make a podcast about it. And I don't know if that's the right way to go, but here's what happened. So I was having a chat with a friend. This is always what's happening with me is I have chats with friends and things bother us or annoy us or things are super positive and then I make a podcast about it because it's my therapy. So I was having a chat with a friend and he had mentioned his irritation with teacherpreneurship. Now, he doesn't hate the idea of teacherpreneurship, but he doesn't like this idea of people who are really focused on the wrong things, meaning that they're focused on building a business and marketing and everything, which goes into teacherpreneurship. Listen, I'm 100% supporting of people who want to be entrepreneurs, who want to teach privately, etc. However, the discussion went into this idea, which I think is actually the core of the idea. We got a little angry. we always have these kind of angry conversations with each other. But anyways, the core of the issue here is that teacherpreneurship is not necessarily bad if you actually know what you're doing. And so this case, from his perspective, because he is a small business owner, he has a school, he's a consultant, so and he does it all, by the book and everything else. And if you're doing it correctly, and if you actually are someone that is focused on building a business based on your knowledge, that's great. But teacherpreneurship, I think, has maybe gotten to be like this buzzword, mode, a little bit in style, in vogue, and people are taking it. I think that people are focusing on the wrong things. Let's put it this way. So let's get into it. I'm not trying to make anyone feel bad about starting their career or going off on their own, but I do think that if you think that you have something to share and you have a skill that is marketable, that's a wonderful thing. And I think that's what most people and most entrepreneurs, they have a skill or a product that is marketable and that will serve some sort of purpose. My concern is that some people, I think, are jumping into this with the wrong motivations. If you're a teacher, I just don't know how much money you think you're going to make as a teacher. There's a lot of teachers that make a lot of money, but if you're doing it just because, there's this new market of people who need to learn English and I'm going to benefit off of that, I'm not sure if that's listen, you need to get paid for your work, but I'm not sure if that's the right motivation to get into it. So, first of all, kind of check your motivations at the door. Just make sure that you're doing it for the right reason. Because if you're really doing it to, get rich quick, and so you have to really love teaching to be able to be a teacher. Day in and day out, solving problems, having a ton of patience, especially when people are frustrated or stressed out. And so you have to really enjoy your job to move into it. Secondly, if you're going to call yourself a teacher, and I hesitate to call myself a teacher sometimes. I prefer the word trainer. I prefer the word consultant or support. I hesitate to call myself a teacher sometimes because, I struggle with the idea, but for other personal reasons. But if you're going to call yourself a teacher, then I really think that you should start from the beginning. If you're going to say, I'm an English language teacher, I'm an English teacher, then there's some key questions that I think you probably should answer. The first one being, How are languages learned? Because if you don't have a position, and there's theories and we have some science to back it up, but if you don't have a position on that, that's foundational for you to be a teacher, especially an English language teacher. So how are languages learned? If you can't answer that, then you need to rethink that. At least have a position, have an opinion that's informed by some sort of literature or research or resources. You have to be able to just justify what you're doing in the classroom. I'm not really sure how you can teach a language without having a philosophy or belief system of how languages are learned. So if you want to look into that, I would say if you haven't ever looked into that, then you should definitely start looking into that. And one resource that you can use that I started with was Patsy Lightbaum and Nina Spada's book for language teachers, How Languages Are Learned. So start there. There's a lot of other stuff, but that's a very digestible and good book to start with. To start, I'm going to say to start because you probably should go beyond that. Next, I would ask you, what do you think is the role or responsibility of teachers in the classroom and learners in the classroom, and how does that interaction play out for you? And if you can't answer that, I would again suggest that you start going into looking at the dynamics of classroom management and the dynamics of teaching and how we can support our learners and how they're able to learn things and techniques and methodology. However you want to do this, that's fine. But you should have a position on that as an English language teacher. And the next thing that I think all English teachers should reflect on is once you establish you have a belief system on how languages are learned and what is the role of the teacher, what is the role of the learner in that environment, and how can we support each other through that journey, you need to be reflective of, is what you're doing actually supporting your belief system? Or are you simply doing what you've always done or doing what you've been exposed to in your classroom? So I think that there's a couple of things that people need to start focusing on a little bit more than how am I going to get 6,000 students a month and I can make over 10,000 reais a month by, I don't know, selling an online course. I think, okay, if you want to do that, fine. And if you think that that makes you a teacherpreneur, okay, fine. But I would say before you start trying to market yourself and before you start trying to say that you have this amazing methodology or claiming that you have helped thousands of students, hundreds of thousands of students, and that you've created your own materials and they're revolutionary, and you can use what I saw. Oh God, I saw recently one PDF that will take you from starter to fluent and with just one PDF. Um, Before you start making these claims and focusing on making reels and TikToks and doing all of that stuff, I would urge and encourage people to maybe not so much focus on the marketing, not so much focusing on how to get more students and how to make more money. I would really kind of turn into yourself and think, what am I doing here? And what do I believe? And is what I'm doing actually supporting my belief system, or am I saying something and doing something completely different? And if so, how can I change that? Because if you offer really quality language lessons, language support, language courses, I would say that you wouldn't have to rely so much on the marketing. You wouldn't have to pay for those courses on how to market yourself and how to, because you know who you are, you know what you do, Your belief system and your teaching philosophy is backed up by research, literature, science, data. You have good practices in your teaching classroom, in your teaching environment, wherever you might be teaching. And probably you're going to see results with your students. And those students turn into the best source of marketing that you could ever imagine. That they are going to tell all of their friends, all of their family, coworkers, whomever, that they had a wonderful experience, that they had positive results, and that you really know what you're doing. So what I would urge people to do is maybe not focus so much necessarily on being this amazing teacherpreneur with amazing marketing skills, and just focus on being a really good teacher. I'm not saying that teacherpreneurship and entrepreneurship is a bad thing. It is not. But if you don't set your priorities as a professional and have enough respect for yourself to put something out there that you know is based on your good, solid information, reading, research, data, talk to people, go and have a conversation with other people. So if you're prioritizing marketing and Facebook and Instagram ads and TikToks over actually knowing how to do your job, I would say your priorities are a little confused at the moment. So this is what I would recommend. And in the thread of this, I will probably, and I'm working on making a series with other people and maybe just by myself of spreading some good information about how languages are learned and applied linguistics in general, teaching practices in general. That's the whole purpose of this podcast. So stay tuned. I'm going to try and put together as much content as possible so that you can make those really good informed decisions and hopefully rely a little bit less on business savvy marketing and a little bit more on being a really well-prepared and credentialed English language teacher. So that's my hope for you. Again, not trying to criticize all of this teacherpreneur and business modeling that everybody is doing. But let's focus on the really good basics first, and then taking yourself into the sphere of becoming a good business person. But let's be a good professional first, and then be able to market yourself after. That's it for today. And stay tuned for more information about teaching in general, I guess. Sorry if this was ranty. And again, I'm not pointing this at anybody or criticizing anyone. I think that we just maybe as a group, we need to reevaluate where we're putting our priorities as teachers. Okay, that's it for me.
Ready to join the conversation? Head on over to Instagram at Real Talk and ELT Pod or at Kelly Pennington ELT and send me a message. That's it for me. Take care of yourself, your health, your vibe, and your tribe. Until next time.